Hey folks, it's David Konikov, and today is one of those days that it's not so great to be Jewish nor Israeli. And the reason being is that despite the fact that we got the hostages back, what we learned about their condition is equally terrifying, and even more so. This is on the left is where they're being returned, completely emaciated, looking, completely starving, and then on the right is them living their life as normal Israelis. In particular, one of the most saddening aspects of this is actually one of the hostages, Eli Sharabi. Eli Sharabi essentially was made to give a little bit of a speech about what he looked forward to most, and actually he doesn't know that his family is not alive. Hear what he has to say.
אני מרגיש מאוד מאוד שמח היום לחזור למשפחה ולחברים שלי ולאשתי ולבנות שלי. אני מאוד מאוד מקווה לראות אותם בקרוב.
هذا هو الرهين إلياهو الشرابي
ואני מאוד מאוד רוצה שהחברים שלי שנשארו.
الذي كما ذكر.
So what he's saying is basically, I can't wait to get back to my family, and his family, unbeknownst to him, is not alive. Just sick that Hamas is basically parading him around and laughing at the fact that his family is gone. And the Jewish people are not without allies, and one of those allies is Erin Molan. Erin Molan has been speaking out for the Jewish people ever since October 7th and even before, and for Israel. And check out what she has to say about this the terrible state of these three hostages.
You've all seen the images by now. You could put a black and white filter over the top and it's the Holocaust all over again. I don't even know where to start. To every single Jewish and Israeli person watching this right now, I am so sorry. I'm sorry that my voice has not been enough. That the other disgracefully small group of voices outside of your own have not been enough. We have all failed you. Humanity, again, collectively, has failed you miserably. And down the track, just like after World War II, yep, we know, there will be a reckoning. There always is. The masses will eventually wake up. They'll be horrified. They'll feel sick to the pits of their stomachs. But what does it matter? What difference will it make? Can't help you now. It doesn't save your daughters and sons and mums and dads. They'll never come back. And by the time you manage to muster, and I don't know how you do it, but by the time you manage to muster the unimaginable strength to just be a tiny bit okay, to recover in whatever way you can from the atrocities of the past year and a half, you do so knowing that if something like the Holocaust wasn't enough to stop October 7 from happening, not just that day, but the even worse events afterwards, then how the hell will October 7 be enough to stop the next one? Terrorists are terrorists. We all know who they are, what they look like, what they do. You can define it, you can see it, you can explain it. But how do you come to terms with the fact that they aren't lone wolves in their evil? But there is this massive army behind them who don't wear a green bandana, who look just like you and I, who purport to care for the lives of all except you, who pretend to be human rights activists and feminists. What do those words even mean anymore? Nothing. Who march for murderers whilst they murder your people. How do you break it to your babies? How do you look your children in the eye and tell them that the vast majority of the world does not care about them? In fact, that's too light. Hates them, detests them, doesn't see them as human. I wouldn't know how to. So to every person, and you've seen these images, who has accused Israel of starvation. Starvation is those three men on stage, not the cowards in masks and crowds cheering their horror. To every person who accused Israel of war crimes, the three men on stage, that is a war crime, not the attempt to protect your people from repeated massacres and free them from captivity. To every person who spoke only of the suffering of children in Gaza and directed your faux outrage at it toward Israel, what about the children of those three men on stage? Ellie's two daughters were brutally murdered. Or's baby's mum was killed whilst he rotted in a tunnel. And Ohad's three children have lived an unimaginable nightmare for hundreds of days. You think these hostages and families don't still have hell on earth to live? You think it's over? It's not. Dad won't be the same anymore. He never will be. Like, how do you come to terms with what he's just gone through? People who go through far less trauma are affected for life. That's a reality. Their relationships suffer, they suffer, the people they love suffer, the people who love them suffer. It's a life sentence. And again, for the record, Hamas has caused every single second of suffering endured by Palestinians and Israelis alike, every single second. To the repeat offender media outlets, you are, and I'm so sick of this word, but there ain't no better one, you are disgraceful. Your coverage of this release and the horrors since October 7 is criminal. CNN with, and I quote, 3 freed hostages appear in poor health. Many Palestinian prisoners freed by Israel have also seemed emaciated upon release. I mean, is that a sick joke? Who is writing that rubbish? There is no comparison, not in degree of emaciation nor equivalence of captives. This is so crazy. You are all crazy. The prisoners released by Israel are terrorists. They're killers. They're rapists. The hostages released by Hamas are innocent. They have not bombed buses or blown up babies. Like, there's no grey here. It's not complex. There's no context. The BBC with the headline, Free Israeli Hostage Looks Gaunt. British Family Says. Are you kidding? No. They are gaunt. In fact, far worse, they are barely alive. You can say it. It's not an opinion, it is fact. The British broadcaster's correspondent spoke of how precious the hostages were to Hamas, giving the terrorists credit for saving their lives. I mean, US aid were funding this? Oh no, sorry, clarification, just the BBC's charity arm, they say. So different, I'm sure, no doubt. Whose mission statement, by the way, includes supporting people all over the globe who are most in need. Well, I saw 3 blokes this morning who looked pretty needy, who you don't seem to give 2 hoots about. And speaking of, the Red Cross, shaking hands, signing fake forms like D-grade Hollywood actors. And they took to X this morning, the Red Cross, their official site on X, to brag about bringing the hostages home safely. Are you serious? You did not visit them once. They are barely breathing. They are skeletal. You drove a car, that is it. You did nothing. You did nothing. When Netanyahu tried to say, hey, maybe pressure them, you said, oh no, that won't work. We're not going to try, but that won't work. You are disgraceful. The world is a disgrace. In summary, the world is a disgrace. And when everyone wakes up, it will all be too late. And then we'll just repeat the whole thing over and over and over again. And no, this is not defeatist. I'm not giving up. I'm not stopping. No chance in hell. And I know enough about the Jewish people now to know that they won't either. But my gosh, this is getting so old. So old.
Very raw message there from Erin Molan, and she was not alone. Another woman, which is incredible. She's just been incredible since October 7th. And even beforehand, although she didn't have such a big voice back then, a woman by the name of Elica, a pro-Israel Iranian activist, took to X to talk about how, why she speaks out. So this is basically a tweet she just put out about why she speaks out, even though she's not Jewish. So hear what she has to say. I'm not Jewish, but there's a reason that I've risked everything to speak up for the Jewish community. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I mean being blocked by friends that I grew up with, unfollowed by most friends and associates, accused of being a spy for the Mossad, IRGC, CIA, etc. Having my family accused of the same, and having their lives put at risk to the extent of having to contact the FBI, being subjected to unthinkable smears, conspiracies, and rumors that are intended to blacklist me from everywhere and by everyone. But I still speak up, despite it all. You know why? Because the same time that the Jews had to watch their children being shot and kidnapped on October 7th is the same time that they had to watch half the world protest against the existence of their tiny Jewish state that is their only refuge from global genocide. It's the same time that they had to watch their friends, associates, celebrities, and the world's body politic post-paragliders in celebration of their massacre. Is the same time that they had to watch their synagogues go up in flames amid renewed pogroms in Europe. Is the same time that they had to be banned and blacklisted as persona non gratas of the world by trading the word Jews for Zionists. Is the same time that they had to be pushed back by human chains on college campuses and beaten unconscious for defying chance for their death. Is the same time that they had to watch a mentally ill rapper tell millions of his followers that he loves Hitler and supports the Holocaust. Is the same time that they had to watch the likes of Dan Bilzerian, Candace Owens, Jake Shields, and the rest of the woke right claim Jewish supremacy is the world's biggest problem by citing obscure texts of the Talmud and claiming to seek truth while regurgitating anti-Semitic Soviet disinformation to justify their persecution. Is the same time that they had to watch the woke left claim that the victims of the Islamist extremism deserve the October 7th horrors because their grandparents who fled Nazi Germany back to Palestine in refugee boats were actually white colonizers. All while the world looks on and globally asks, what anti-Semitism? That's why I speak up. The most important thing I've realized is that nobody can take from you what doesn't belong to them. They can silence, intimidate, threaten, and accuse you, but they can never take away the power of your voice when it bellows into the scorched earth the last hopeful, fragmented glimmers of truth. That belongs to you and nobody else. And in our lifetime, it may never be more important than now. She also spoke about, the hostages. She wrote that probably due to the hostages. And she said, with regard specifically to the hostages, a picture speaks 1,000 words. A bone-thin Jewish man emerges from 16 months of captivity in underground tunnels, emaciated, shocked, bewildered, and unwillingly clutching his terrorist certificate to memorialize his time in captivity as though his suffering was an educational milestone, and then paraded on a stage in front of 1,000 flashing cameras and handed a mic to say he cannot wait to return to his wife and children at long last, only to be laughed at and a final show of humiliation by the terrorists who already killed his wife and children. He is alive, but what life is left for him? Whatever hope he had died in the tunnels he survived. We, humanity, will never forgive. We will never forget. Wow. Powerful words from Elica there. And she's 100% correct. And so is Erin Molan in her especially condemnation of the Red Cross, one of the most just useless organizations out there. And I wanted to actually bring you a Red Cross skit from an Israeli an Israeli comedic organization called Eretz Naderet, basically showing how they're totally useless and basically just Uber for Hamas. Check out what the Red Cross skit is about.
When you've been away for a while, you want to be taken home by someone special. For those once-in-a-lifetime moments, we proudly introduce the Red Cross Rideshare app.
Red Ride for hostage? Am I saying that right? Hey, do you want a water or like the aux cable or anything?
It's about time. Where have you been? Why didn't you bring medicine? Humanitarian aid, a sign of life to my family.
No, we don't do that anymore. We pivoted to just being a rideshare app. It's pretty cool.
Aren't you the Red Cross?
Yeah, we cross between Israel and Gaza. It's kind of our new thing.
What?
Simply download the app, book your ride, and we'll be there within 15 months.
Am I going to see my family now?
Of course. We just need to make one teensy pit stop and go do a ceremony in front of a bunch of terrorists where you guys smile and wave and pretend like you're old friends from sleepaway camp. Is that cool?
Red Ride. We'll be with you the entire 200 meters of a ride literally anyone else could have driven.
All right, we're here. If you could just rate the experience, it really helps. And no pressure, but Hamas always gives 5 stars.
You.
Yep, probably deserve that.
Red Ride. It's like Uber, but with a Nobel Peace Prize.
So that was a brilliant skit and very, very truthful. Sadly, that is exactly what the Red Cross is about nowadays. And they were pretty useful to begin with. Wow. Just a crazy, crazy night for the day for Israelis, Jews around the world. Along with this is all happening as Kanye is just going full, he's just lost it completely. There's nothing left. And all right, for more, you can subscribe to the channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored, and we'll continue to help fight anti-Semitism. So support us there and help fight the Israel narrative war as well as anti-Semitism worldwide. Thank you, and hopefully tomorrow is a better day.